kid thing came up, but she wasn't crazy about having more kids. And then we sort of fell into this kind of lull in the relationship, so.
But you did want to have more kids? Or maybe
Well,
possibly?
You know, again, it's hard. I wasn't very good about bringing that kind of subject up, but it came up, and she goes, well, I'd have some more, but really I'm happy with 2. And then you go, oh, okay, and so you think about it, then you don't do anything about it, and then, you know, the relationship isn't so, you know, it's not that great, you know, you're 3 or 4 years into it, you're kind of going, well, this is okay, but the other thing that crosses your mind is, well, let's not have children and then stay together for the children if it's not working out, and it sure sucks to have kids with the idea that's going to draw you closer together, because that isn't necessarily the case, type of thing. Part of it was our work schedules, you know, and it's reflecting back on that, I had thought about that for a while. But I was working a lot of swing shifts at the club. I moved into operations in the early 80s. And what happened was I was working a lot of shifts where I'd have like Tuesday and Wednesday off or something like that, and I'd work, you know, a couple day shifts, and then I'd work swing shifts. And we got where we didn't see each other very often. I mean, we'd go, you know, I had a real irregular schedule. I mean, real irregular. I mean, I never worked the same schedule 3 weeks in a row, because I was the junior guy there. They just put me wherever. If somebody was on vacation, there was 4 or 5 of us, and they put me here, and then they put me there. So I'd work like 2 swings at graveyard and 2 day shifts or something along that line. And it was kind of hard having a good, steady relationship because of that. You know, that really kind of, I think when I moved from construction work into operations, I think the fact that I started doing those different schedules just caused us to drift apart. It's not a good excuse, but I think it happened that way. When we got divorced, Greg was 18, Allie was 14. Greg went off to college. I built that room upstairs for him, but he went in and lived in the fraternity house for a couple of years. And Allison lived with her mom for a year or 2. And what happened was Harriet met somebody, got married, and they ended up living about 3 blocks away. So it was handy. And then at some point in time, like everything, you know, Allison got mad at her mom, so she came and lived with me for a while. And that was okay, because her mom and I were always really good about being supportive of each other when it came to the kids. Then, you know, after I got divorced, I met somebody shortly after I was divorced, and we started going together. We lived together for a while. And from that point on, I remained pretty much single. I meet different people along the way, but it doesn't seem like it ever sticks. And I've always liked a sense of independence and kind of being responsible for my own thing, and so I'm not quite sure why. I don't know whether I have met somebody or they haven't met me to be the right connection, but it seems like I am now at my ripe old age of 75, wondering I don't know if I'll ever meet anybody and get settled down again or not. But everybody asks me, would you get married again? And I go, well, sure, if I met somebody I wanted to get settled down with. But as you get older, it's not just set in your ways, you just get used to certain things, I guess. And maybe that's being set in your ways. I think when you grow up, if you meet somebody when you're young, you kind of grow old together, you develop each other's habits, but you also have so many shared experiences that makes life more rewarding as you look back, as opposed to if you just meet somebody and I sit and say, well, I had a great trip with my family to the East Coast, and I go, well, you know, they don't know anything about it, and they sit and tell me that they had a grand time with her, whatever it is, going down to South America. I don't know anything about that either. So life's a lot about shared experiences, and that's probably the one thing I kind of regret, is I didn't meet somebody along the way that I built up more shared experiences with. But like I said, the kids were good in school. Allison was real proud. It took her a few years to get through college, but she made it through college, and she was quite really pleased with, you know, I think she was real proud of the fact that she did, and she needed to be congratulated because she just stuck with it, and finally graduated. And that's a testament to perseverance. Greg, on the other hand, started his business when he was in high school. He started mowing lawns, and when he wasn't quite 16 yet, so he had to get a partner. but he ended up running his own business, and by the time he was 21 or so, he just was so busy with his business that he really did not have time to go to college anymore. But I can remember working with him on his business late at night when we'd set up things. He bought a place over on Hubbard, and actually he and Tanya ended up living there for a while. But I can remember when it was just his business, and we'd set up kind of a format for his business, and from an accounting standpoint and from a customer service standpoint. And he was always good about listening and absorbing things, and I think he still is today, about wanting to learn things. And one of the things I tell people all the time is, when you're young, if you can find a job that you kind of enjoy, that you continue to grow at and learn at, it just makes it, when you get older, you don't, it's not like a job, it's something you enjoy doing. And it makes it easy to continue. I've always thought that it would be, kind of disappointing if I had a job where I said, well, I can hardly wait, I can retire in 3 or 4 years or whatever it is, and just keep looking for the day I can retire. Because it's just nice to have a place where you enjoy your work, it's challenging, and it's fun for you. Greg never felt like, he felt like it was kind of a waste. I don't know that it's a waste, but I think for people who want to study and continue to learn, it's just not a necessary thing. Some people are better equipped to study in books, and they want to kind of go see a professor, and if you're in some technical thing like medicine or engineering, you pretty much have to go. But if you're in business, you can get a good sense about business working for people that are in the business world. Certainly I've had people that work for me that some people have their master's degree in business, and I've had other people that just came up and graduated from high school and started working in the club, and after a few years, it's how you apply yourself and what you continue to learn. It's not about, whether you have a degree or a master's degree. And I've enjoyed that aspect of my job a lot. In any case, when I had the chance to move to Peppermill, which was a local operation, I took advantage of that and came over. I thought I'd work a few years, and I was in my late 50s at the time. I said, well, I'll work a few years maybe, and I could probably retire because I had myself financially pretty well set up. And that was almost 20 years ago now, so I've worked at Peppermill a lot longer than I expected to. But we have a wonderful ownership, and I've really enjoyed my experience there. It kind of combines the fact that I've worked with people, it's an opportunity to train people, it's to participate in something. So it's been a real good experience, and I keep thinking one of these days they won't want me anymore, but I keep running into the owners, and they keep reminding me that I have some value. So it's nice when you get old to have some value in an organization. And the owner's son, Billy, went to Stanford. He's now 34, but he's been with the organization about 10 years now. But he worked in we had him work in some, like cleaning in the front desk and the stewards at the kitchen and that sort of thing. And then he came working marketing. He worked with me for a long time, and I think for 5-6 years. And now he's the general manager and running the property. So it's been a nice experience because I connect with his dad and I connect with him, and it's been a source of real enjoyment from a career standpoint. There's other things along the way. People ask me about if I've been involved in other things. I've been on the Reno Sparks Chamber for the last 4.5 or 5 years. For a long time, I was a spokesperson for for Peppermill, but I really turned that over. We hired Stephen Esquag here. It's probably been 2 years now. But I knew Stephen from before. His family owned John Esquag's Nugget, and he was real well known in the community. He's taking much more of that responsibility as far as governmental affairs type of thing. But I used to do operations, governmental affairs, PR, all that sort of thing, donations. I was mentioning things I've done I think I was on for 6 or 7 years. I was on Habitat for Humanity, where we were building houses in the community. So that was something I enjoyed doing. It was nice because people would get houses, and it would really change their lives for a lot of those people. So that was a really nice thing to do. I was with big brothers and big sisters, and I had 3 little brothers that I did work with on that, and it was kind of nice to do. It was, I think, disappointing from the standpoint, I'm not sure how much I impacted these kids' lives. The one boy I was with for 2.5 years or so, and it just seemed like the dependency on the government. He lived with his grandmother. He had 3 siblings. I think they were all half brothers or half sisters, and there just wasn't a lot of motivation in the family to move forward. You try to encourage people, but everybody's got their own motivations, I guess, and so you'd only do so much. So I felt kind of like I hadn't been very successful in bringing him along. And not that he needs to be anything like me or the rest of the family that I'm associated with, but it would have been nice to have him be more focused on thinking that he could do more and be more of in a career, as opposed to thinking, well, I could show you how to drive. And he goes, well, I don't need to learn to drive because I'll never have a car. And you know, with that kind of attitude, it's pretty hard to get past the fact that, yeah, you can do it, you can do this. And so I take him out to drive, and he goes, I don't know why I'm doing this. And you kind of go, well, if you don't understand it, then it's probably not going to work. Nice kid, but just not probably very motivated type of thing. You know, I'm trying to think of some other things. Right now I'm on the Truckee Meadows Water Advisory Board, which is interesting because I learned all about the water that comes down from Lake Tahoe down the Truckee River and flows in the Pyramid Lake. And it's always interesting what governmental agencies work really well. In this town here, at this point in time, I'd say the Water Authority is a really well-run organization. Of course, I like it because it's a bunch of engineers, and engineers are always sort of pragmatic and kind of business-oriented, and they're not full of great ideas. They're just kind of real think, well, this is our water, this is how we got to take care of it type of thing. And the other, probably the real good running board is Reno Airport Authority. They do a real nice job of thinking ahead and planning. I think if in 20 years from now, if you were listening to this thing, I'd be interested to know whether that it's working out or not as far as water in the valley goes, and the airport authority. You know, you sort of see what's going on around the town. I met a lot of the political people just through my association with Peppermill, so I met people in the local government and the state government. And one of the things you hear more and more in this day and age is how divisive everything's to be, and it's true. And compared to 40 or 50 years ago, the meanness and the mean-spiritedness of it is gotten much worse. Part of that is just because of the size of how government is growing, and as you get bigger government, you have more of a nature that functions the power in whoever controls the government. So if the Republican Party's controlling it, they're going to spend their money a certain way, the government's money a certain way. If Democrats are there, they're going to do it. But what happens is it's not about the individual senator, it's not about the individual representative. It seems to me like it ends up being more about what party's in control and who's either the president or the governor type of a thing. And I think that's just one of the problems. What happens with our governments get bigger and the tax bases become bigger as they collect more and more money, then the government becomes a more powerful tool, and the leadership of the government becomes more powerful. And then the system develops, it gets taken advantage of it. And from a corruption standpoint, it's not illegal corruption, but the system sort of becomes self-corrupting. There's a fellow I just met, and Greg Evans went through this. When people get out of the military now, well, like half of them are getting some kind of disability. I mean, Greg Evans did, and you wonder what was wrong with Greg. Guy came back, just Mike Martin, who I know just came back. He served 10 months. He was a lieutenant in Afghanistan, and he said he came back, and the guy says, you must have PTSD or whatever. And he goes, no, and the guy goes, well, you just put in for it, and then you get a disability. And I think that's where government absolutely corrupts things type of a thing, where it becomes just easier to say, go ahead, we can do this for you. And I don't know whether that's going to change or probably get worse, I think. I read that 47% of the people in the United States, households in the United States, pay no federal income tax anymore. So there's a lot of people that don't pay anything, and you know, all of a sudden when they become the majority, then why not tax the people that are making money and paying taxes just that much more? I certainly pay my fair share of taxes. So I'm not really active, you know. You know, things I do like is I think these things like the Humane Society, the animal arcs here in Reno, those are all, I think, really nice things to support. I think the intention of those people is good, and I think they really try to do a really good job taking care of animals, and in large cases, you know, animals that are unfortunately left unattended type of people. It's just nice that somebody cares that much to support them. You used to ask me what some of my idols were as a kid. Well, there was always kind of these, when you were really little, it was like Western guys, you know, like Gene Autry, or there was a guy named Randolph Scott who was in the movies, and he was pretty cool, or somebody like that, who was, you know, kind of strong, silent type of guys that were just, you know, they'd ride into town, save the town, and then they'd move on type of a thing. And even back then, you know, and maybe that's where I got it. Maybe that's why I just stayed, you know, they never got married, those guys. They just went on and did good someplace else. So, you know, you'd sit there and kind of go, oh, that's pretty cool being like that. And I think there's always a sense of me being, even if I dream about things or kind of daydreaming, there's a sense of being something somewhat heroic. And I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it just seemed like it would be great, like you played football or something like that, and to score a winning touchdown for the team or something like that, or to, you know, to be in the service and do something heroic where you save people. And it's, I never wanted to be out in the middle of, you know, kind of on stage. You know, it's nice to be, I kind of always want to be recognized as somebody saying, oh, you did a good job type of a thing, and that say, oh, good, you know, they appreciate what I've done, but I never wanted to be kind of the center of attention. I always kind of went along. I kind of remember a story about somebody saying, you know, my son's a great leader, and the guy goes, my son's a great leader, and I go, well, I can work with these guys, I'm a really good follower type of a thing, but I think that was my nature was not really to be I'd accept responsibility and I'd want to do my job well, but it wasn't my natural inclination to want to lead and be in charge. You know, I seem to get more satisfaction out of people acknowledging what I do than doing it myself and getting self-satisfaction out of it. The best joke I ever heard, boy. I don't know if I could, I don't think I can go into those. I can't remember very many jokes, and most of the time they're a little off color. It's too bad too. I just heard kind of a good one the other day, but you know, you need Jay Spalding around here. Jay was the master of telling jokes. Jay'd start to tell. He worked for Merck, and you know, to get him to see doctors, you know, they didn't necessarily always want to see drug salesmen, so he always had a joke. So he'd go in and say, oh, I got this new joke, and then, oh, come on in, Jay. So Jay always had a good joke for everybody. But when Jay'd go to tell the joke, he'd start, well, there's this, and he'd start laughing at it. He wouldn't even get through the joke, and he was cracking himself up so much. So anyway, Jay and I become good friends over the years, and played golf together. And for a couple old guys, we do pretty good. He's 7 or 8 years older than I am. So, but we kicked butt when we went to Lake Ridge at the golf tournament. We took second 2 years ago, and the member guest, and last year we took seventh. So these young kids come along and they just go, guys, not got nothing on us. What is the nicest thing I've ever done for anybody? You know, you try to be helpful, try to help. One thing about me for sure is, you know, I like people who want to try to help themselves. I'm not just a, here you go, give it to you. It's much better. You kind of have to do something where I think, yeah, you've kind of achieved something, so you're going to get, I'm going to help you achieve it, or you're going to be rewarded for it. But I'm not one to just say, here it is, you know, here's a car, go enjoy yourself. Here's a college education, go to it. You know, if you work for it a little bit and get a little bit of skin in the game yourself, then I'm kind of all for it. So I really enjoy these couch surfing people that I have come with me. I haven't really talked about that very much, but I like the fact that most of them, they're young, they're energetic, they're smart, they're appreciative too. I think I like people that are appreciative about things. What were pivotal moments in your life? Did you ever? You know, one thing that's kind of amazing, and I might have mentioned this before, but there's certain things that are kind of always interesting, how you do certain things, and they definitely change your life. I was talking about going to architecture, and I was thinking about going to Montana State. And my dad said, hey, you know, there's an architecture firm in Reno, it's called Page and Warner. You should go down and talk to George Page, or whatever his name was. I never met the guy before. I go down and see him, and he says, so you want to be an architect? He goes, well, you know, Montana State has a good school. He says, you know, there's a great school at the University of Washington. I go, really? He says, yeah. He says, if you can get in there. And he says, it's a great architectural school. Never saw him since, never saw him before. But I applied for the University of Washington, I got accepted and went there. So it's always strange, you know, how that sort of thing happens. You know, it was a little bit like the military too. I'm sitting there going, well, I'd probably go in the Army Corps of Engineers. I was going out with a girl whose dad was a colonel in the Army Corps of Engineers. And I meet some guy once and he goes, well, he says, it's not exactly the Corps of Engineers like the Army. It's you start out in the combat engineers to begin with. And I go, really? I said, what's the difference? He goes, well, you know, they put in mines and they put a concertina wire around the base. And I thought, oh, I thought it'd be more like construction work and that sort of thing. He goes, no, you don't get to do that until, you know, you're a captain or a major or something like that. And I go, oh, that doesn't sound nearly as good as something else. So I checked with the Navy, and I went down and talked to the Navy guys, and the Navy guys go, yeah, you know, it's, you know, you get involved with public works and different things along that line, and you do get some military, but you build bases or something along that line, so this is a lot better deal. But it's just interesting how certain people you'll talk to that give you some sense of direction that have a major effect on your life you've never seen before, you know, you've never met before, and you don't meet afterwards. So one guy that helped me a lot was, and I don't know who he was, but he was in Senator Jackson's office. So I was trying to apply to get into the Navy and go through naval OCS as opposed to the Army. And then my draft board was saying, well, you know, you only got 2 more weeks or 3 more weeks, and then, you know, you got to go someplace or we're going to draft you in the Army. And I'm kind of going, oh, this really sucks. You know, I don't have too much time. And I was trying to finish my college too. I was just graduating from college. I was finishing classes though. And I go down to the Navy recruiter, and the guy goes, well, he goes, you know, it's going to be 4 months before we can let you know whether you accept it. And I put my application in probably 2 or 3 months earlier, and I go, well, that sort of sucks. And he goes, well, yeah, it's going to take that, it just takes that long to process it. So I mentioned to my dad, he said, well, I mentioned our senator was Mike Mansfield in Montana, and he said, well, I'll see if I can get a hold of his office. My uncles were state senators from Stanford, Montana, so we had a little bit of political connection there. But Senator Jackson was a fraternity brother. He was a lot older than I was, but he was from the same fraternity house I was at. And I'd met him before, so I called the guy down there, and he was a lot older than I was. He was probably 30 or 25 or something, probably not very much older. And I'm talking to him, and he says, what are you trying to do? And I said, well, I'm just trying to see if I was accepted to naval OCS. And he goes, so you're not trying to get out of the Navy? And I go, no. And he says, and you're not trying to get out of the Army? No. And he says, he says, you're not trying to get in the reserves? I go, no. I said, I just want to know whether I got accepted. He goes, well, let me check for you. He called me up the next day and said, here, you've been accepted in this class. And I can remember thinking to myself, it was lucky I talked to him, because I'd probably gone in the Army or someplace like that. But it was nice that he helped me out, and I always remember that. And in fact, when we went back to Washington, D.C., I'd gotten out of the service. I was married because the kids were with me, and Harriet. And I went to see Senator Jackson because he was still a U.S. Senator back there. And we were going to see him, and then he got busy. There was some kind of vote or something like that, and he said he didn't have time to see me. So I always want to thank him for the time that one of his staff took to help me out. So those are kind of simple things where a person kind of had an impact on you that you really didn't get around to say thank you to, probably should have. Did you ever run away from home or do something rebellious as a teenager? Not that I recall. You know, I never remember myself getting in any kind of trouble whatsoever, ever. But I can remember my mother getting upset and crying about something because I apparently did something wrong. But then somebody asked her about what kind of a child I was. I'll never forget this. And then she says, Bill was perfect. It was a few years later, and she may have lost her mind, but she just said he was perfect. And I thought, well, that sounds about right for me. So, do I have any phobias? Yeah, flying, you know, and eating things I don't like. You know, what would you buy if you had $1 million? You know, I don't know that I'd buy anything more. It's hard for me to spend money. You know, it's not about, I try to figure it out, my nature is, it's just like kind of a Hughes tradition, I guess. And although some of the family members have gotten past it, I just think that I always wanted to have value of whatever I spent my money on. And you know, if I was going to buy a shirt, I wanted to wear the shirt. I didn't want to wear it once or twice and not wear it all the time. If I did something like that, I'd be absolutely disgusted with myself and be mad about it, type of thing. So I love the fact that it's kind of nice to have certain things I didn't get. This house being the perfect example, because it had all kinds of things in it I don't think I would have bought, and yet I really enjoy having it. It's got this huge shower. It's got 2 shower heads in the bathroom. You know, I can exercise in the bathroom when I'm getting a shower. And there's just certain things, you know, you end up liking. There's a vacuum system here that I don't use the vacuum system at all, but I love the fact that there's a suction thing in the kitchen, so I can sweep everything into the kitchen. I don't have to go carrying it outside. And all I can do is think tomorrow about my dad and think about how he would have thought everything was so ridiculous because how much effort it is to go do this. But it's just all about efficiencies. It reminds me of myself when we first got cars that had the latches on them where you don't have to put the key in, you know, you just walk up to the car. And I'm thinking to myself, how lazy is that you don't even put a key in the car? And now it just bugs me if I say, oh geez, my thing doesn't have to work, I have to get the key out. So you get used to these new technology things pretty quickly, you know. Kayla we were driving through Dallas and she was amazed at how we could drive around Dallas if we didn't have GPS telling us exactly where to go. How did you guys used to do it? We used to have maps and then we'd have to remember what the map said. Oh, wow, that would be a chore. What would you do differently if you knew nobody would judge you? Oh, I don't know. I probably do things now that I know nobody's judging me on, so it's probably the way I eat or sleep or stay up at night. I used to clean the house like at 1 o'clock in the morning or something along that line. I don't know if I'd get judged bad or good by that, but would I break the law to save the loved one? Yeah, I would. I mean, yeah, I would if I was saving. Well, depending on which loved one it was. I mean, you know, it depended on what law it was, you know, but it depended on how much saving they needed, type of thing, you know. Like I said, I've got all these thought processes that go through my head, so it's not just always a real quick answer. It's kind of like a complicated return on myself. What's your favorite physical feature? Oh, geez. What sort of things do you feel you waste your time worrying about? I'm not a huge worrier about stuff. I do worry about things on a kind of a short-term basis, but they're like being late to get somebody or something along that line. But it's not like, yeah, I don't think I waste my time worrying about stuff very often at all. What was the most valuable thing you've owned or bought during your lifetime? Probably the thing I've really enjoyed more. Well, I enjoyed the first house we bought on Pine Brook because it was just great for the family. It just was nice because the kids had their own rooms and everything like that. So from that perspective, that was great. You know, it was the house was new everything about it was kind of exciting to have. And I remember Greg and I, that lawn is older than the house. It's hard to believe it's that old, but we got the lawn. We dug it up from somebody else's lawn. They wanted to get rid of it. So we had all the grass put in. And then Greg dug a big hole in the backyard. I don't know if everybody knows about that. He started digging a hole. It's like his rubber band ball. He starts digging this hole. It gets deeper and deeper. It's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet deep and 10 feet in a circle or something like this. And it's just in the backyard. And then he got tired of digging. So I believe I was the one that filled it back in. I don't remember that exactly, but I think I was the one who filled the whole thing back in again. Anyway, why did I think about that? Because he helped me put it in the front yard, that's why. Favorite place you've ever traveled to or lived at? Oh, lots of different things. You know, it was a great trip across the United States. That was probably the best trip we had. It was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of people we knew, which I always enjoy, and then a lot of places along the way. I think it's a combination, I think I like, of meeting people, doing things with people, and seeing new things type of thing. I don't think I'd be that excited about just going to see something and by myself or with, you know, especially by myself. And but I would enjoy going to meet people sometimes by myself. But the best combination is going with somebody or seeing somebody and sharing it type of a thing. That's for sure. What's the one thing everyone should do in their lifetime? Well, the only thing that pops in my mind is everybody should raise a good family. You know, that's a great experience. If you could bring someone famous back for a day and hang out with them, who would I pick? Oh, that's easy. I have my favorite, George Washington. I don't know why. I decided our country was just so fortunate to have a guy that wasn't power hungry. He was super rich. He was really brave. You know, he leads the army, and I mean, it would be like someone who has a lot to risk, like Bill Gates or something like that, decided he was going to go off and run the army, live miserably, and run the risk of losing everything if he got defeated. Then they'd say, well, we'd like you to run the country, and he goes, okay, but he does it for 8 years, and he says, I don't need to be king, I don't want to do that anymore. And it set a kind of a standard or tradition in our country that people only ran for 2 terms until FDR came along. So I think that, you know, I think I admire him a lot as a founding father, and just how he was really brought everybody together too. I mean, he was unanimous choice for president. You'd have to say that he deserves a lot of credit for that. I think sometimes how we look at the history of our people, what they contributed, and I'm not sure. It's kind of amazing how it's written and how people were popular, and whether I'm not always so sure it's about who really was the most effective, but more about who was really popular and who the press sort of wanted to write about. Because certainly writing a book, it's great to write about somebody, but they write about somebody that they can sell some books about. That's part of the deal. So, you know, you don't write about Taylor if nobody's going to buy any books about him. Speaking of that, this is just a little aside, that Benjamin Harrison, I think it was the guy who was president. He was president before Lincoln. He has 2 grandsons that are still alive. Not great-grandsons, grandsons. Pretty amazing that your grandfather was president like in 1840 or something like that. But he had his kids when he was like 70 or 80 years old. He had kids, and then his kids, his children had kids when they were like 70 or 80, something like that. And now the two grandkids are in their 80s or something along that line. But pretty amazing to me. Any pet peeves? Yeah, I think I have some. Well, I get mad at myself because I don't do things the first time very well. You know, it kind of annoys me. And so I've always kind of felt like I needed a couple times to do something well. I'm not very mechanically inclined. It takes a lot of time to do that. And the other thing is, you get older, like technology, you don't catch on to begin with, and so it's like, I go to Facebook and it says you got 4 messages and 10 people want to do this or that. You go, geez, you know, I don't know what to do about all that stuff. So I need to ask a little bit more about it. But how do you want people to remember you? As you get older, you realize, or I have anyway, that in the scheme of the world, you're remembered just for a few generations, and that's about it. You've got to, even people like Benjamin Harrison or whoever the guy was with his grandchildren, you know, history just kind of blows you away here as time goes by. I mean, we're not around for very long. When they were talking about some animal that lived between 100 and 9 million years ago, they're not exactly sure. So 100,000 years to 9 million years, I've gone 100 to 9 million. I mean, that's a big spread for them not to be able to identify when you think that, you know, we've only really had the language, you know, we've only been around for 3,500 years or so, something along that line. I mean, you know, you go back 1,500 years before the birth of Christ or something like that. I mean, not very long humans been around here, so I'm not exactly sure that, you know, but you'd like to be thought of by the people, good guy, I guess, as a positive influence, as someone that, you know, was honest and fair, and, you know, you can count on as a friend. Who was the great entertainers of my time? Oh, well, I think probably like Neil Diamond was a guy that I thought was great, and Creedence Clearwater. Those, the ones I remember most. It's interesting because I would have listened to stuff in the 50s, but it seems like the 60s more, the music of the 60s more resonated with me. That's for sure. Rod Stewart's coming to town. In fact, I'm going to be gone. We're going down to Romy's thing. Too bad, because I would like to see him. He's going to be here November 3rd. I was going to take somebody to that. There was people like Frank Sinatra. You know, you had movie actors like, well, I can think of Kirk Douglas, Michael Douglas, John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart, Gary Cooper. People like that were kind of the stars that I kind of related to, I guess. There was athletes. You know, there are certain athletes that you didn't connect with, like Mickey Mantle, because he was kind of, I don't know if it was too, but he was maybe more outgoing than I was, more of a personality that I saw myself being. You know, I'd much prefer somebody who was kind of the quiet type that just said, well, they did their job well, and type of a thing like that. So, you know, and I was trying to think, you know, I was trying to remember like who we thought were really attracting women back in those days, you know, that people would know. Brigitte Bardot was she was kind of the hot number at the time, and I can remember Julie Christie, I think, and she was really a hot number, and you won't even know who they are. I mean, you know, it doesn't even register with you guys anymore at all. So it just tells you about how time passes, and you're a star for a while, and then your star goes away. You know, we did go to, you know, when I was at Harris, it was nice because there was a lot of concerts that we went to, and it was fun to go to those. One of the things I did with was Harris, I was involved with putting on different ones. I was at the entertainment chair, which I was at Peppermill. I put on several. We had Willie Nelson come, and Howie Mandel, and different people like that. But at Harris, probably the thing I did was we put on Luciano Pavarotti, who was a big star at the time, and he played in New York City, Houston, and then Reno. So it was a big deal. We had people from all over California coming up. I remember we had a U.S. Senator was there, the governor came, everybody always wanted to meet this guy. He put on a show, and it was at Lawler Event Center, and Lawler was brand new then. It was probably about 84 or 85, And these other cities didn't have any nice convention facility like that. I mean, there wasn't no Arco Reno sleep train, or I don't know what it'll be now, but there used to be, there's a big theater. There was no Oracle down in California, so this was a better place to perform, and he performed for 6,000 or 8,000 people. Anyway, afterwards he did kind of a meet and greet. We must have had 500-600 people, and you'd have, like I said, it was amazing. You'd have the senator standing in line, the governor standing in line, everybody wanted to meet this guy. And I was going with a girl at the time, that was Liz Weber, and I'll never forget. He comes walking by and he looks at us, he goes, "Oh, hi." And he was kind of a playful type of a guy. He's a great big heavy set guy. He comes up and gives her a great big kiss on her cheek. And she was pretty impressed by that. I was too. I thought it was kind of cool. Anyway, so, but yeah, he was kind of the famous. He was part of those three tenors that appeared down in Los Angeles about 10 years later. Was I very religious? You know, I went to Episcopal church. I was involved with that when I was a kid. My brothers were both acolytes. I wasn't that active in the church, but we'd go to church almost every Sunday. We probably went. When my dad was home, we'd go almost every Sunday, so we probably went at least twice a month and maybe 3 times. We went to Sunday school and that sort of thing. Do I have any grandchildren? None that I know of. No, I have 5 lovely grandchildren. They are, in fact, they're responsible for this filming. At least 2 of them are here right now. You know, that'd be Kayla Marie, and Tate William. And they're fun to do things with. You know, I'm lucky I have them. You know, they're good kids. They like to do things. They don't get in too much trouble. They have nice friends. You know, they're healthy, smart, and like I said, don't get in too much trouble. Every once in a while, though. But you know, they've been great. You know, and Toby's the littlest of them, and his parents do so much with him because he's their only child, and so whereas Tanya and Greg were just you want the kids here, you take them, you know, type of thing. So that was kind of a good deal, and so I've probably done more with them, but I suspect as Toby gets older, maybe I'll do more with him. How often do you see your parents and siblings? Well, my parents have passed away. My siblings, I probably see Tucker once a year. And Doug, I probably see once every couple of years. Tucker's come here. He came here when I got married. He came here when Allison got married, and maybe Greg, I can't remember. And he came here one other time. Doug came here when I got married, and he came about 20 years ago, and that was about it. So frequency has not been very great. I talked to my brother Doug a fair amount, not a lot, but maybe once a month. I talk to Tucker not that often. Tucker's, he's just kind of absorbed with the ranching business. And Doug is involved with his church, and he's got his 4 or 5 dogs that he's always taking care of. And so it's hard to get them going and traveling and doing anything. We went down to his daughter's wedding here a 1.5 years ago, and a couple of years ago I went down and saw him with Tate and Dexter and Hayden, but he has not been here in a long time. And that gets back to kind of the concept. You kind of have to do more things whether you're young together, whether you go hiking or play golf or go on a rafting trip or rent a house or something along that line. But if you do it when you're younger, you're probably going to do more as it. When you get older, you just have more in common. Did you retire? Well, no, I didn't retire. I'm sort of not working as hard as I used to. I used to work really long hours, but I've gotten down to a regular 40-hour week. In fact, it's probably a little less than that. I probably go in around 9:30 now. I leave about 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night. And it's partly because my workload is down, partly because you just get older and you're just not as, I don't know if it's harder to stay focused or whether you just have the same desire type of thing. But often in jobs, you're always looking ahead to what you're going to be able to do in the future. And all of a sudden, when you get to be my age, you're not looking too far downstream anymore. So it makes a bit of a difference. How many languages I can speak? I have trouble with English, and that's about as much. What talents have you learned over the years? Ooh. What skills would you like to pass down to your children and grandchildren? I'd like them to enjoy themselves and have fun, but have a sense of value about money, about making a contribution. But the most important thing I think about is making sure that they kind of are positive in their life and are happy. And as long as they're making somewhat of a positive contribution to the society, and it's not like they have to, run a charity, but they're doing something positive and they're happy, then that's all you can ask for, And I hope that they're happy for a long time, because it seems to me like, that's probably the most important thing, is that you're enjoying things and you're having a good time. I think for the most part they are. They seem to all be positive, upbeat, and always forward-looking to different things. So I think that's something I don't have to worry about passing on. That's just something they've already got. Is there something you wish you knew when you were 20? Yeah, a lot of stuff I wish I knew when I was 20 years old. I wish I was a lot smarter at 20. I don't know if I was naive at 20, but I think I was not very worldly, and I probably had a little bit of a Pollyanna look at things where I thought everybody was honest, and how I motivated myself and how I tried to move along. I don't know if I would have changed anything or not, but I just think I was probably too shy about pressing for things that might have made a difference, and I don't know what I'm even talking about there, but it seemed to me like I went along with things easily type of a thing. And they were usually the good things to go along with, but it wasn't picking out my own thing. The one thing I think I really failed at was failing to plan to do things that were fun. I think I always did things that were purposely oriented, that it was, and probably the most important thing to me was having a financial security. And I think that was the overriding thing for me. So I was always too careful about spending money, too careful about making sure that I had a dollar to get by on type of thing. And I think that was partly my upbringing, partly seeing my dad when he got older, worried about money. It's just, you just sit there and say, I just don't want to turn 60 or 65 years old and not have adequate income. I don't want to have to worry about money. And I've always felt that way, even when I was 25 and 30 years old. And I think it prevented me from doing certain things, like doing more with the kids when traveling or something along that line, because I was thinking, no, we need to make sure that we have enough money so that if something happens, I've got adequate money. And I think that was, and you can reflect back and say we didn't need it, so it was obviously he could have spent the money and he'd been fine. But I'm not sure what I would have spent it on, but I'm sure I could have done other things that been more fun and, and had a good time. And even to this day, I still think in terms of like, well, do I really want to buy a Coke and spend an extra $2.95 for the Coke, or can I get by with just a glass of water? I'm thinking, geez, don't worry about spending $3. But I have to consciously think about that, because my first instinct is to say, I don't know if I really need to drink a Coke that bad. I don't know if it's worth it or not, type of thing. So, I think one thing is, I've missed, one thing that I could talk about is, Kaylee introduced me to couch surfing, which has really been kind of a positive thing for me. I think I've yeah, I enjoy the young people, because they're mainly young people that come through. But I think I enjoy their energy, their enthusiasm, uh, and maybe I live vicariously through them, thinking it must be really neat to be able to have traveled and done as much as they've done. It wouldn't even have crossed my mind when I was 18 or 19 years old to think of a couple of reasons. One, because you couldn't because of the military. Two, because of the financial obligations. And three, because I was kind of set on going to college. But I do think, reflecting back on it, you know, and I don't know whether there's more options in the world today, or maybe there's just more options because of the world I lived in, because it was kind of a closed group of people. I mean, I hung with everybody that was going to go to college. That was your goal. I mean, the guys in my, I always use my physics class as an example. We had 22 kids in there, and I mean, all of them were going to school. Only 2 of them went to school and stayed. Everybody else went to, I went to the University of Washington. I was one of the few people that didn't have a scholarship to go someplace, but guys went to Dartmouth, 2 guys went to Dartmouth, 2 guys went to Air Force Academy, a guy went to the U.S. Military Academy. 2 people went to Caltech, of all places. 1 guy went to MIT. So we had a lot of people that were, but that was your kind of your focus. And I guess when you hang out with people like that, your mindset kind of moves that direction. But anyway, couchsurfing has been, it's, you know, I've got a nice house that works for it, and it's just been, it's fun to see the diversity and meet the different people, and to listen to their ideas, and to kind of share some experiences with them. And there's types of things where you sit there and say, well, you know, what do you do differently because of them? But the reality of it is, like, a girl just came here from Argentina, and my back was bothering me. So normally I just sit around the house and say, well, I'll let my back recover, but she wanted to go up to Lake Tahoe. I said, well, let's drive up to Lake Tahoe. Well, it doesn't bother me to sit in the back and drive my car up there. I mean, it wasn't that hard on my back or anything like that. Turned out to be a nice day. It was good to get up and get out. So you just do something rather than not do something, type of a thing. And I think that with people coming, they like to do that. I think the other thing is I like to, I don't know if talk's the right term, but I think I like to explain things, or to have a point of view, to have somebody to talk to. And I sort of like a challenge where people they might disagree with me, but not, you know, where they're super locked in on their position, where they've got a different point of view because of where they're from. I had 7 people from Pakistan stay with me not too long ago, and they were all Muslims, and there was 4 guys and 3 girls. They were all going to the University of Utah, but it would have just been real interesting. They weren't here very long, but it would have been very interesting to talk more with them and understand the Muslim religion, and what they saw was positive about the United States, what they saw was negative about the United States, what they enjoyed about the country, what they didn't enjoy about the country, what if they went back home, what would they change if they could go back home. I just think all those things are really interesting. I had people, I had 3 girls from Austria that were going to medical school that were just real interesting girls and fun to be with, and we went up to Virginia City, and the only reason I mentioned, you know, they're just full of life, and, you know, and I think they're always looking forward. It's just so much better to be looking forward. When you get older, the tendency is to reflect on what's behind, what's happened in the past, and it's great to be saying, what are we going to do forward, who I've got coming in. So I've got a person, let me think, where are all the people coming from that are coming in? I've got 2 or 3 from Argentina that are on J1 visas that are coming in. I've got a band coming in of 4 people. I can't even remember where the heck they're from. They're from the United States someplace. But I have somebody from China, not from China. But anyway, but I've had people from probably 50 different countries at least come and stay with me. I've had probably 300 or 400 people stay with me. And it's just, you know, most of them are very interesting and amazing. You know, they speak English well, especially people from Europe. And I've just done a lot with them. So if I ever went traveling, I'd probably want to go look them up. People ask if if you couch surf and stay with them, I go, nope, I'd get my own place, but I'd make sure I'd look them up and say hello to them. That's been really a nice thing to do, and it's easy for me to do, and it's convenient for me to do. Oh, I know, I've got a girl from Thailand coming and a girl from Spain. They're coming this weekend. So, and they're, au pair, what do you call that? Is
Au
that
pair.
what, how do you say that?
Yeah, au pair.
Au pair. They're au pair. I'd never heard that term, but I've had a couple of them stay, and I've got a couple more of them coming up from Sacramento that are doing that. So that must be a French term for babysitter. See, when you get older, you don't have as many funny things going on with you. It's when you're young and all these things, you know, you sort of get close to getting in trouble. So your life will be boring in about 10 years, so.
Never.
And Kayla's already pretty much settled down, so.
She's always been boring.
Huh?
She's always been boring.
Always been what?
Boring.
Oh, boring, yeah. So, yeah. So, you know, she goes to Burning Man though.
Let's just spice her up a little.
Yeah, your mom and dad are pretty excited about their new pickup truck and their
Going.
fifth wheel, yeah, so, you know, your mom, I think your mom gets excited about stuff, even more so than your dad does now. Your dad used to be the one who used to always get, we should do this and get excited, but now your mom's all about this kind of stuff, so.
Yeah, but they'll both like it.
Yeah. So, Tate, do you want to go?
I think we're all going.
Or are you gonna go?
Oh, is that right?
Mhm.
You're getting a ticket?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we haven't figured out, oh, is this still running?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Sure. Okay.
Oh, Bill Hughes.
We're live.
We're live again? Oh, good. Good enough?
I feel like Hayden's not gonna be satisfied with that story though.
Oh, well, it is what it is.
We'll have to get Hayden on here to tell the truth.
That's why you can talk to Hayden about that. So,
Wouldn't you rather set the record straight?
no. No, we'll just leave it like it. And, who else? Anyway, but, any idea? Did you have?
I don't know if I asked because I filmed it 8 years ago.
You
so,
filmed her 8 years
but
ago.
we're all gonna watch it together.
One of my worst style moments. I don't know.
Today,
No.
this video.
That's kind of a gay. That's kind of